Hello, I'm Sophie from BeeBagDesigns, and today I'm going to show you how to make this beautiful bedspread. You will of course have lots of squares, and I use this sirdar dual spun yarn which has lots of colours to choose from. And then once you've got your basic square, I'm going to add a border in this lovely parchment colour, which I think brings out all the colours. I use an 8mm hook for all of the rows, and then it's a Starcraft special. And then for all the squares, I add these 2 rows, and then I also join it together in the parchment. Okay, so starting with your first colour, you want to chain 3 and join. And then with most of my rows, I am starting with 2 chains, which doesn't count as a stitch. So chain 2 and then do 16 double crochets in your circle. Okay, just continue with your 16 double crochets and pause the video and I'll meet you at the end. Okay, so I'll meet you on your last double crochet, and we just join with a slip stitch in the top of the first double crochet, not the chain 2. And then chain 2, and we're going to make a 3 double crochet cluster. So that's yarn over, pull through your yarn and take off 2, yarn over, pull through your yarn, take off 2, yarn over, pull through the yarn, take off 2, then take off 4 and chain 1. And you want to do this in every stitch all the way round. Yarn over, pull off 2, yarn over, pull off 2, yarn over, pull off 2 and pull off all 4 and chain 1. Okay, count how many clusters you've got at the end and I'll meet you there. Okay, so I'm just going to do my last 16th one. It's really worth counting them at this point, because if you've got it wrong now, then it's going to muck up the whole square at the end. Pull off 4, chain 1 at the end, and then join with a slip stitch right in the top of that cluster. If you push it together, you'll see the 2 loops there. And join with a slip stitch. Okay, I'm going to slip stitch into the gap between the clusters and chain 2, and then I'm going to do the same stitch all the way around. So pull through, take off 2, yarn over, take off 2, yarn over, take off 2, pull off all 4 and chain 1. And continue to do this in the gaps between the first clusters all the way around, and again you're going to end up with 16 clusters. Okay, pause your video and I'll meet you at the end. Okay, so I'm just finishing off my last clusters. Chain 1, and we've finished that round. So join with a slip stitch as you did before on the top of the first cluster. And again, slip stitch between the clusters. got a nice circle. Now we're going to turn the circle into a square. So chain 2, this does not count as a stitch, and you're simply going to do 3 double crochets into the gap. And in the next gap, you're going to do 3 double crochets. And into the next gap, 3 double crochets. So that's 3 groups of 3 double crochets. And now we're going to go into the corner. So in the corner, we want to do triple crochets. So that's yarn over twice, go into the gap, pull off 2, pull off 2, and pull off 2. Yarn over twice, pull through, pull off 2, pull off 2, and pull off 2. Oops, got hooked. And you want to do this 3 times. So in the corner, it's 3 triples, chain 2, and then 3 triples. Okay, so just continue, do 3 more groups of 3 double crochets, do your 3 corners, 3 more corners, and pause the video and I'll meet you at the end. Okay, just finish off your corner with your 3 triples and then cut your yarn, and that is the end of your square. So I'm quickly going to show you how I sew join my square together. Just have a nice clean edge for your next round. So I skip the first stitch, go in the front of the second stitch, then down through the first stitch, catch the back, and then go through again, and then back through to your last stitch. And this gives you a nice clean edge. What I do is just thread the yarn down and then go into that group of stitches where you did the triple crochets. And it's a nice thick patch to sew your end in, which makes it nice and secure. And by the 3rd time you go through, you can really feel the thickness and you know it's nice and strong. And then obviously just cut your yarn and then do the same with your centre circle. Go back up. I'd like to go through 3 times. And then your square is complete. I would advise doing your ends straight away because you don't want to end up with 25 squares and lots of ends to sew in. Okay, so now I'm going to show you how to do the rounds of the parchment. Well, it's 2 rounds. You start off with these clusters. It's 2 clusters in the same stitch, but they're only 2 double crochet clusters rather than the 3 double crochets we were doing in the first colour. So I'm going to start in the corner with a standing double crochet, but you can obviously just chain 3 if you prefer. Okay, so you've done your standing double crochet, chain 2, and then 1 more double crochet in the corner. You're going to skip the first stitch And in the second stitch, which is the middle one of your double crochets, you're going to do your 2 double crochet cluster, yarn over, pull through, take off 2, yarn over, pull through, take off 2, and then take off all 3. Chain 1. In the same stitch, do the same again, yarn over, pull through, take off 2, yarn over, pull through, take off 2, and take off all 3. Now you're going to skip 2 stitches to the middle one of your 3 double crochets and do the same again. Chain 1. Now continue to do this all the way along, skipping 2 stitches between each little bunch of double crochets, and then pause your video and I'll meet you at the end. Okay, so you've paused your video and now you come back to do that final group of 2 double crochet clusters. Chain 1 and then 2 double crochet cluster. You're going to skip that last stitch, and in the corner you're going to slip stitch into that chain 2, and you're going to chain 3, which counts as a double crochet, and then double crochet into the corner, and you're going to chain 3, and then do 2 more double crochets in the corner. What we're going to do is do a double crochet in the top of each cluster, not the chain 1, but in each cluster. So you find that 2 stitches in the top, 2 little stitches here at the top of the cluster there, and do a double crochet. Find the next one and do a double crochet. Sorry, you've gone slightly off camera there. You can see there those 2 loops in the top of the cluster, so not the chain 1, and you should end up with 10 double crochets across, not including your corners. So if you think you've got 5 groups of 2 double crochet clusters and you're doing a double crochet in the top of each little cluster, so you've got your 10 double crochets. And then you get to your corner, you do your 2 double crochets, chain 3, and 2 double crochets. And then just continue all the way around. So I'm just checking I've got my 10 double crochets, and then what you're going to do is join the slip stitch in the top of that chain 3, and then we're finished. Okay, so now for sewing them all together. I did join as you go, and I used a video by Hooked by Robin, which I'll add to my description. And you basically go in this strange pattern around and it joins them all together. But because my design is slightly different from hers, I need to show you what you have to do, and then you can use her method. So you go into the first corner, chain 3, and do 2 more double crochets. So that counts as 3 double crochets in the corner, but you don't finish the corner, you just do those 3. Because you're not going to do that final edge, but you'll see when you watch a video. Now the important thing is here, you must skip 2 stitches. So you skip those first 2 stitches. And then in the 3rd stitch, you're going to do 3 double crochets. And then you're going to continue along, skip a stitch and do 3 double crochets in every stitch. So 3 double crochets, skip a stitch, 3 double crochets, and I'll meet you at the end. And then, as you did at the beginning, where you skip 2 stitches, at the end you're only going to skip 1 stitch. And you should end up with the 6 groups of 3 double crochets. And then in the corner, you do 3 double crochets, chain 2, and 3 double crochets. Now you've continued to do this, so you've got 3 sides done. And then I'll show you how you join to the other final side. So the main thing to remember is that at the beginning of the row you skip 2 stitches, and at the end of the row you only skip 1, and you end up with your 6 little clusters of 3 double crochets. Okay, so you can see I've got the 6 there, and I'm coming down on that final side, and I've got my 6 groups. Finish my last group there. Apologise for that, there's a little burst of football. So you finish your last 3 double crochets, and now into the corner you're going to do 3 double crochets. Now you're going to chain 2, but you're actually going to start on your next square, so you don't go along the bottom. So you've done your chain 2, but you don't go into that corner, you go into the corner of the new square. Now when you watch the video Hooked by Robin, you'll be able to see she explains the reason for doing this unusual thing. So into that corner we're going to do 3 double crochets, so it's the same pattern. We're just going to go up the other side. Now after you've done your 3 double crochets, you go into that gap, the gap between the 3 double crochets, and you're simply going to hook the yarn, pull it over, and then just carry on your the row. So you skip your 2 stitches and then do your 3 double crochets. So it's exactly the same, but after the 3 double crochets you're just going to pull the yarn through the gap between the 3 double crochets on the other square, and you'll get used to it. And obviously by the time you've done all your squares you won't even be thinking. So don't forget to be skipping your stitch between each little group of 3 double crochets, And then after you've done your 3 double crochets, just go into that gap on the opposite square, catch your yarn and pull it over. You can keep it relatively loose. You don't want to be too baggy. You'll get the feel for it. And then do 3 double crochets, skip a stitch, take the yarn off your hook, slip your hook through that, pull it through, skip a stitch, and just carry on to the end. Okay, so you're getting towards the end now, so just carry on, do your 3 double crochets, and then at the very end you should have 1 stitch left before you've reached the corner. So after the final group of 3 double crochets, that's not the corner, you pull through your yarn and then you go into your corner. But after this corner 3 double crochets, you're not going to join, so don't join the square at the very top. So you join after your final 3 double crochets of the side, but not after the corner. You chain 2 and you just go straight into the corner of that second square. And you're going to continue that all the way along, so the tops of the squares aren't joined. Again, you've watched the video Hooked by Robin, and she'll explain the reason. And it's not until you start your second row of squares that you're actually going to start joining them at the top there. And when those squares are above, you join them all together, and you'll see this lovely little pattern that I will show you that's created. So there you see the join. Sorry, the cat's making himself very comfortable. And there you see the join there, which I think is rather nice. It's like a little petal. I just added a border of the same stitches we've done, really. It depends how big you want your cover. I just did some rows of double crochet and a couple of those clusters. And then when I got to the corners, I just did some double crochets or single crochets just to finish it. And just did 2 double crochets, chain 2 in the corners, and just did a few rows just to make it longer, but it depends how big you want it. But yeah, I was really pleased with it. So let me know what you think, and thank you for watching. Send me any pictures.